All right. Let's get all this fired up and see how it goes. So, officially back in business. We're back in Brisbane. I've just had an epic few days away in Perth, which was great fun. And now we're back in business. So, as you can see from the title, what we're going to be talking about is building unbreakable and unshakable confidence to embrace your true potential. It's something that I feel is important to talk about for a number of reasons, but there on the flight back, my wife and I spent Sunday afternoon looking out over the sunset, and we were discussing how while we were living an incredible life and we're having an awesome moment, there was still part of us that was thinking about what's next for us. And I know a lot of people live like that, and it made me start thinking, well, a lot of people are very content with where their life's at, and they don't necessarily have nor want the drive and ambition to create more from their life, regardless of what people believe they should have. And then there are the flip side of people, those who are extremely ambitious, those who want to achieve great things and continue to develop and grow upon where their life's currently at. And I can resonate and relate to both of those, I guess, things, because I like to consider myself ambitious, but I also am mindful enough to know that I don't want to just focus on where I want to get to. I want to be able to enjoy the present moment and the present state. So from that point there, we're looking into, in order to be able to do that, you've got to have and be able to build unshakable confidence. Now, why is that important in order for you to be able to get the outcomes that you're looking to achieve? Well, confidence for most people is the thing that enables you to take action on what it is that you want to achieve. Okay, it can be one of those things that can positively impact your life, and you can look at it across a number of fields. It can be from your relationships, it can be in your career, it can be, what do we got on TikTok here? Phone call coming through. So let's talk about what the meaning of confidence is, and obviously the understanding of it between self-doubt, self-esteem, and confidence, and where it can sort of play out on. I've got so many screens going on here, it's tripping me out. Cool, there we go. Now, for me, the confidence comes through doing, right? It comes through the ability to be able to go, this is what I need to, or how I need to feel in order to get the results that I'm looking to achieve in my life. And without the confidence, most people are going to sit back and not take action on the things that they want to do, right? And it's that same analogy that always gets thrown around, the metaphor around what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And well, I'll leave you to decide on that. And for me, it's ultimately the most important thing is just taking action on it, right? For me to jump on here and do a live, that's something I've put off for ages, or I used to do a lot of, and it almost lost confidence in my ability to be able to speak on a live stream, right? Because I use so many other formats with the podcast, with the reels, and with so many other social platforms and live events that my ability to become more confident doing these lives is just going to come through doing the action, right? Through jumping on here, getting feedback from people and working out what works well, what's valuable, and where I can best feel like I'm adding value to people. And based off feedback, which, TikTok's a vicious place. I've got a TikTok up here and there's a lot of twats on there, but Facebook and Instagram is generally a lot better, is that you build on confidence, right? You can look back at the recordings and you can say, look, I delivered some value here, or I didn't. I can speak more clear and concisely here, or I didn't. And based off that feedback, and also the feedback from the people listening, your confidence builds. You start to feel like you've really got it under control. And this can play out in your relationships, right? The more confident you are in your ability to communicate, in your ability to build rapport, the more likely it will be that you'll be able to go up to people at a bar. Maybe you're eyeing someone off across the bar and you want to shout them a drink. And if you have unbreakable confidence in yourself, there's going to be a higher chance or a greater likelihood that you're going to go up to that person and offer them a drink, as opposed to someone who lacks confidence, probably wouldn't even be in the bar in the first place. They're probably going to be sitting at home. So start thinking about areas of your life, from relationships to career to overall well-being to health, that you want to become more confident in, and start giving yourself just one actionable step that you can take to build that confidence, right? Because when you're ticking things off, when you're taking action, you're building your confidence because you're proving to yourself that you can do what is required and what is necessary in order to get the outcome that you're looking for, right? It really does become that simple. And let me just go back here. Boom. So let's look at now. We're just talking about, obviously, understanding confidence. Now we want to start talking about factors affecting confidence. Now, for a lot of people, things like fear of failure, comparison to others, your past experiences or results, self-doubt are things that impact your confidence levels. And when we look at it objectively, I'll use my own story and experience here. I believe I had an advantage to being more confident in certain areas of my life, in other areas of my life, because from a young age, I was very fortunate to excel in sport. So from a young age, I had a certain level of belief around myself, around what was possible. I had people, I guess, verifying or validating how I thought about myself by, achievements and medals and representative teams, etc., which built into my confidence because I recognize that, hey, if I'm good here, it's going to make me more confident talking to girls. It's going to make me more confident talking to other people. And that was a direct reflection. So what we then need to think about from those factors affecting your confidence is, one is the environment, right? What you want to achieve, the outcome, whether it is financial success, you want to build a business, you want to build a podcast, whatever that may look like, at the foundation of that is the environment, and the environment comes down to the people that you're spending time around with, and also the opportunities that that environment can produce. Okay, so think about this. If you're wanting to be one of the world's best surfers and you're living in the middle of Australia, the likelihood that that is going to become a reality is quite low because you just don't have access to what you need to have access to in order to achieve the outcomes. As opposed to someone who lives on the beach, right, who has access to surfing all the time and who has maybe access to surf coaches and people who are surfing quite regularly. So when you're thinking about the factors that are going to influence your confidence, environment is a really important one. Other things that you can think about on that is self-talk, right? Or the people that you're surrounding yourself with, what you're consuming. If you're not getting value from this, I wouldn't be listening to it. If you are getting value from it, I would be listening to it. Right? So many people consume music or listen to podcasts or read articles that aren't adding any direct value to their life. It's just purely gives them something to talk about. It allows them to be a part of the gossip, but it's still not directly adding any value to your life. And when you become so attached to things outside of yourself, your confidence is dependent upon that. So if your confidence is attached to your identity as such, which, I guess in a way it definitely is correlated to it, but if the results in your life are always going to impact how you feel, you'd want to make sure you're fucking getting some good results. But we also know that there are so many variables that influence and impact results in our life that it's impossible to always feel confident in that. So I want to go to segment 3. Let me just put this bad boy there. Playing around with some new tech here, which is pretty fun. Cool. So strategies for building the unshakable confidence. Well, first and foremost, a lot of these things sound simple, and I don't want to come across as someone who's saying I've mastered them, because I haven't. For me personally, it's like some days I feel awesome, some days I feel confident, other days not so much, right? And what I have started doing is looking at the days that I'm feeling awesome, what has been the routines, what has been the patterns that have allowed me to feel more confident on those days, as opposed to the days where my confidence isn't as high, my ability to meet new people, to take greater risks, to achieve what I want isn't as high. And you can start noticing patterns if you do this regularly enough. But for me, I know for a fact how important it is for me to have my routine around sleep. And I know a lot of people talk about this. Once again, not awesome at this, something that I'm working on. But by getting the bedtime and the wake time more consistent, you're going to feel better, right? Your circadian rhythm starts linking up. We've then obviously got other things to look at around like a morning routine. And for some people, they have a whole range of stuff. For me, it is just the time where I go over what I've got going on for the day, and I be more intentional around what I want to get out of it, because so many people waste time and do things that aren't adding any value to their day. And at the end of the day, they go, fuck, I was busy, but I didn't get much done. I'm still behind on everything that I wanted to achieve. So it's important to, one, work on the self-talk, right? You can do that in your morning routine based around what your intention are with every meeting, or your work day, or your time with your family, or your time in the gym. Be intentional with what you want. Secondly, setting realistic goals. Once again, everything that we choose to do comes with a cost. And when we're aware of, I guess, what the costs are, and sometimes it could be financial, other times it could be time, it could be sacrifices. When you're aware of all of those things, you can make a more informed decisions, and you can really back the decision that you're making, as opposed to people who are just going with the flow, and they may not necessarily be thinking about the impact of their actions and whether or not it's moving the needle on how you want to feel or how you want to get to. And I think a lot more people are getting better at this, which is awesome. And I know myself included, it's something that I'm getting better at, but it's also something that's extremely difficult to navigate, obviously, when you're going through day-to-day life and maybe don't have as much breathing space to look objectively at how your life's going. What have we got now? Let's look at overcoming challenges and building resilience. This is a fun one. So I've been fortunate on the podcast to interview, coming up to 500 episodes of, let's say over 300 guests who have inspiring stories, faced adversity, achieved certain levels of success around their careers, as athletes, as musicians. And a lot of what they credit their success to has come back to resilience. When they have the door slammed in their face, their ability to keep going. And quite often they talk about why at times which would hold most people back, or what would encourage most people to quit, for them it's just, okay, well, I still enjoy doing what I'm doing. I still love what I'm doing. I'm just going to take another route. Okay, it's not directly reflected at me. And we're all seeing this now. I think through social media, the fact that let's say there's half the world's on social media, let's say 3 billion people. You have access to people that you would have never, or I know I never would have gotten to speak to in my life, purely because where I live. But now we have access to all of those people. And it's such an incredible thing, because while there's a lot of people who don't like the way I talk, don't like the fact that I don't wear a shirt, there's so many things that they don't like, there's also equally as much people out there who resonate with what I'm trying to achieve, the podcast, and how I go about doing things. And the cool thing is when you have that level of confidence, you can sort of understand that there's going to be a lot of bullshit, and you can sift through to finding the right people, rather than a lot of the keyboard warriors who love to heckle stuff. As I'm watching here, it's quite funny. So that's one of the most powerful things, and one of the most beneficial things I've had or experienced as a result of talking with a lot of, I guess, people who've overcome adversity and have achieved great levels of success in their chosen industries and fields. So another thing that they do is they obviously embrace those failures. There's a guy I had on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, Rogan Dean, and he lost his leg in a motorbike accident and was a top-level rugby league player. And his mindset around losing his leg, how he shifted his focus, going, okay, well, it is what it is, but it doesn't define who I am as an individual. I'm still the exact same person as I was before. I still have the same drive, the same hunger to compete at a high level. I'm going to do that just in a different sport. And that's exactly what he did. And so getting to have conversations like that, and once again, I guess that ties back into the power of your environment. It really helps set you up to overcome challenges and build resilience. One, when you have the support network to fall back on. Two, when you have perspective to, I guess, look at challenges and adversity through a different lens. And then obviously through seeking out challenging moments, through taking risks. Every time you take a risk, every time you fail, every time you're faced with a challenge, you get the opportunity to solve that problem. You get an opportunity to test how badly it is that you want the outcome that you want. And a lot of people, unfortunately, as we've spoken about earlier, and I've been guilty of this, is I've said yes to doing things and I've set goals based around things that I thought I wanted, but didn't necessarily want, which is why I guess the consistency and the lack of motivation toward those things happen. Okay. So that's that. As we've covered understanding confidence. We've covered factors affecting your confidence. We've covered strategies for building unshakable confidence. And we have covered overcoming challenges and building resilience. So while we're here, we'll do a quick Q&A. If anyone has any questions, let me just see here. I don't even know how I can see Q&As here. Private chat. Let's see. Comments. Boom. G'day, Andrew. How are you, brother? Hope you're still on. Anyone else, if you've got questions and answers around that unshakable confidence, I'm actually using a new software today, which made it very confusing going from my notes back and forth to multiple screens. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's see. Otherwise, we will let it wrap up. I know I've gone 6 minutes over, but that was a good testing period for me. And I guess one that goes back to what this whole theme of this is, which was around building unshakable confidence. For me, doing these lives more regularly and actually running through frameworks and principles that you can implement into your own life to better improve it is something that I want to do more, but something I've also been fearful of because I was just on TikTok doing it as well and I got fucking toasted. So I didn't enjoy that much. That was quite distracting, TikTok, but I really enjoyed this one because there's not as much hatred. So interesting. But anyway, thank you guys for tuning in and I will be back on soon.